Hey guys, welcome back. Welcome to Mystery School. We're going to be talking about some of the wonders of the ancient world that were achieved using things that have been forgotten to our current society. Some of the miraculous things that the ancients of the pre-flood era were able to achieve with very simple methods. Wonders that we take for granted. Warranted, this is not one of those things. This is a piece of ancient technology that has been forgotten completely. The ancients, the quote unquote giants, the pre flood people, they were able to harness sound and project it at a very particular frequency that resonated with the stone, which disrupted the molecular makeup of the stone itself. This allowed the stone to become pliable, as you can see from this very obvious picture. But what we're primarily going to be talking about today is something that is largely overlooked by humanity, something we take for granted, and that is the agricultural revolution. The way that we get our food, planting a seed. And for us to talk about the Eleusinian mysteries, we need to understand the roles of the various gods and goddesses involved in the mystery ceremony that took place in Eleusis. Eleusis is named after a Greek goddess of childbirth, of coming out of the dark into the light, of exiting the womb into the light of creation. This is a theme that will be very common in the Eleusinian mysteries. The Eleusinian mysteries have to deal with Kore and Demeter. Kore is also known as Persephone. And as many of you people know, Persephone goes into the underworld, falls in love with Hades, and returns after the winter time to her mother Demeter, and spring is sprung. This is because Demeter represents the late stage of the plant, the complete harvest, the ripe and fullness of the fruit. Whereas Persephone represents the young fruit, the seed or seedling, the younger of the dichotomy of Mother Nature. She represents the fruit, the fruitfulness of nature, whereas Demeter is more just your classic Mother Nature. In the Eleusinian mysteries, you'll see animal sacrifice, which is hails back from before the flood. And you'll see the secrets of agriculture being passed along, as well as a psychedelic trip. In fact, the main initiate, who is welcomed by Artemis into the Eleusinian mysteries, is in fact named Triptolemus. Triptolemus wears a laurel crown, a crown of victory, meaning that he's overcome the challenges that are set before him. He is an initiate, and through his initiation ritual becomes an adept. Now, Triptolemus is represented in a lot of art involving the Eleusinian mysteries, and he's on a lot of cups, of special wine cups, which look like small bowls. These bowls, it's not really wine, actually, it's beer, because they use barley, and they use ergot, which they harvest from the wheat that they grow. And the ergot has a very psychedelic LSD-like effect. The ergot is mixed with barley, and they drink it. This is part of the enhancement of the psychedelic ceremony that you go through. A cave is often involved for these types of ceremonies. You can see here, this is where Eleusis is. That's the Gulf of Eleusis. And people would travel from Athens across the mountains and go to Eleusis for this ceremony. It was seen as a pilgrimage. Here you see Persephone with two serpents, and barley and wheat in her hands. The two serpents, of course, represent the Kundalini serpents going up and down the various chakras of your body. The mystery as a whole has a lot to do with the serpent. The serpent is Kronos. Kronos was depicted as a serpent-bodied creature with the face of a man, the face of a bull, and the face of a lion. So once again, you have the lion head with a serpent body, very much like Yaldabaoth. Here you see the initiation ceremony, the laurels of victory, and the sword which cuts both ways, which represents knowledge and intellect and the higher self. You can see the slaughtering of the bull of Taurus behind him as well, representing the end of the age of Taurus and the moving into the age of Aries, stating that this is in fact a pre-flood ceremony. On the same peninsula that is Eleusis, we found these statues. This is not just some kind of funny piece of art. This is an actual depiction of an actual being. You can still see this on the Piri Reis map. If you look real close, you'll see these creatures that have the face of a man on the torso and no head. They're called blimies. Apparently there was a large island of them off the coast of Italy. They live like wild people. In fact, some people even say that the Amazons were in fact blimies, and that they worshipped a snake goddess, which eventually became Medusa. Believe it or not, that is true. There's a lot of secrets that we don't realize even exist, but are very much right in front of your eyes. Now, the drinking of this ergot brew would make you have extreme spiritual revelations as you are partaking in this ceremony. Like I said, there is animal sacrifice. They would take young piglets and throw them off the side of a cliff inside of a cave, basically into a crevasse. They'd break their legs and cry out until they died. At the end of the ceremony, the pig carcasses were harvested by a person who carried 2 torches. This represented a character in the Eleusinian Mysteries who was a pig farmer, and he had his swine swallowed whole by the earth, by Hades himself, whenever Hades came to steal Persephone away from Demeter. So some depictions of the story of Kore or Persephone, you'll even see her with a companion that is a pig, because this swine herder lost his swine herd whenever Hades came to get Persephone. So now part of the mystery, part of the ceremony is piglet sacrifice. The dead pigs at the end of the ceremony are taken back up to the surface by a man carrying 2 torches, and they are covered in seeds and nuts and allowed to rot completely. They're already pre-rotten at this point, and then they're buried, and the crops come up with a whole bunch of natural minerals from the decaying pig, and it's basically fertilizer. This is one of the ways they taught agriculture after the flood. Triptolemus is actually even seen as a god of agriculture. And few people realize this, but Persephone and Hades actually had a child together. The son of Pluto is named Plutos. He is the god of wealth. Because if you take a young seed, which is Persephone, and put it underground, which is Hades, you get more seeds, more grain. You get food. You get wealth. So the god of wealth is the child of the young seed put underground. This is a way that through the pantheon of the gods, we can teach the fundamentals of agriculture. And in the same way that we put a seed into the ground and it rises back up into the light, humans come out of the dark womb into the light. And in this illusion mystery, when we're reborn again, after ingesting the ergot brew, we go into a cave. We descend for a number of days and then return back into the light and are reborn. This all takes place on a very special day, September 23rd. And I'll explain why that's important as we progress in the video. Once again, you see Persephone with the two serpents, the barley and the wheat. And this is the ergot. This is the kind of wheat that they would take and they would harvest the ergot from it, these protrusions from the otherwise healthy wheat, and they'd use it to make their psychedelic brew. This is Demeter. She traveled across the lands on a chariot pulled by two serpents. And Triptolemus, the god of agriculture, the initiate in the rites of the Eleusinian mysteries, also is taken across the land in a chariot pulled by two serpents. Like I said, representing the Kundalini. The serpents are even connected with agriculture in the Bible. You have the serpent in the Garden of Eden, where the punishment for mankind was our fate to be farmers. And as you can see in the book of Genesis, that is in fact what God dooms mankind to, a life of toiling. By the sweat of our brow shall we make our bread. That is the curse of an agricultural society. We separate ourselves from nature. We put our destiny in the palm of our own hand and take it out of the palm of God's. We stop relying on what nature provides and start relying on what we can produce for ourselves. The Eleusinian mysteries are a way of reteaching this idea of agriculture to people after the flood, after the fall of civilization. This is a way of telling people how to plant crops, how to plant fruit trees, specifically how to plant pomegranate trees, which is part of the Eleusinian mysteries as well. This is why you see the pomegranate associated with the high priestess card in tarot, because the high priestess represents the Persephone, the woman who descends into the underworld and rises again. This is Ishtar, this is Persephone, and this is Alice in Wonderland. This is why you see Alice in Wonderland tarot decks so often, because she represents this uncanny. I don't want to say it's a archetype, because it's a very dim archetype that most people don't even realize exists. But between the Empress and the High Priestess, it represents the fulfilled woman. You have Mother Nature, and then the divine Dark Mother, the woman that's associated with the menstrual cycle, with the moon, with secret knowledge, with the veil, with passing through. This is the High Priestess aspect of the complete goddess type. The Empress and the High Priestess together make up the complete female goddess. Demeter is seen as very sad right here because she, of course, doesn't have Persephone. Kori is in the underworld with Hades during the wintertime, explaining why winter is an unproductive season for agriculture. Here you see a man and a woman sitting next to each other on a throne that has two lions on either side of it, representing the lion gate that they have passed through. A relationship is a trial by fire, like the lion's gate. You see the cock underneath her and then the cock in her hand. Also, she's holding wheat. The man is holding barley and the drink. In front of them is a floating poppy, meaning that this may have had an opiate type quality to it as well. Here we see the the artwork that decorates a ceremonial wine decanter, vase, amphora. Took me a while to think of that word. Sorry. And we see the whole Eleusinian mysteries laid out there in front of us. We see Corey in the underworld, or Persephone. We see Eubulus, who brought Corey back from the underworld. He's the swine herder. You see Athena, the patron of the mysteries. Heracles, one of the initiates who also traveled into the underworld, just like Orpheus. This is, in fact, an Orphic mystery. Orpheus also goes into the underworld and visits the chthonic gods. Chthonic means subterranean or underneath. This is where you get the word Cthulhu from. Cthulhu means under God, basically. H.P. Lovecraft did not just make these words up. Chthonic gods are the ancient subterranean gods. A lot of them are much older than other gods, like gods of love and agriculture. These are typically the Titans. You see Demeter and Corey reunited. Dionysus, or Iacchus, or Bacchus, is a big part of this as well, because he represents the intoxication of the barley, wheat, ergot intoxicant that they brewed. Then you have Triptolemus, who has the wings of victory and the staff, and of course 2 serpents next to him. And yep, Demeter. All right, just some notes to go over. I don't think that has it. Okay, here we go. He flew across the land on a chariot drawn by dragons. This is Triptolemus. Demeter tried to make him eternal. This is cool. He goes around to all the different countries around Greece and teaches them agriculture after the flood on his dragon chariot, right? He teaches the Scythians, but Lincus refused. He was the king of the Scythians. He refused to teach the agriculture to his people and kept the secret for himself. And as punishment, Demeter turned Lincus into a lynx, or a Lucifer. So that's where we get the word lynx from, is this king of the Scythians that was turned into a cat. And then Charnabron was another king that actually killed one of the dragons, I believe, that Triptolemus had, one of the serpents. Oh yeah, and then he was cast up into the stars by Demeter, and eventually became the constellation Ophiuchus, which was just recently in 2010 reintroduced into our zodiac. So Ophiuchus is actually this guy who killed one of Triptolemus's dragons. Blah 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 blah. Oh yeah, the Temple of Artemis, which is, she's one of the people who reside over the initiation ceremony of the Eleusinian mysteries. Her temple was formerly the Hecateon, which is like the temple of Hecate, which she carries 2 torches as well, just like the swine herder. Three commandments of Triptolemus: honor your parents, honor the gods with fruits including the grains, and spare the animals. Once again, chariot adorned with serpents. This serpent is very, very common throughout this mystery. Blah, 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 blah. I've already said all this. Feel free to pause it and read it, though. Here we go. In a cycle of 3 phases: the descent, or the planting of the seed; the search, the breaking of the seed by the seedling and the searching through the dirt for the sunlight; and then the ascent into sunlight. This happens with humans as they're going through this ergot experience. They're being placed underground or planted, and then They spend a couple of days underground, at which point they rise again. This is also a microcosm of the macrocosm of the seasons, or the period of rebirth through winter and spring. Just reading this, make sure I'm not forgetting anything. See, they're even mentioning psychedelic drugs here. The only reason I think I know this is because I believe that I once lived a life in Crete, as a Minoan, and this was a ceremony that we practiced. And that could just be a crazy person talking, but I honestly believe this. This is about Aletheia, which is very similar to the Greek word for truth, aletheia. Thea itself is a goddess. So you see that represented a lot in the different names of goddesses, Thea at the end. This is stating that chthonic is underworld. And I started searching for if there was any caves around Eleusis, and sure enough, there was a cave, and I imagine they used this for the mystery. Of course, a lot of the information I gave you is not easily verifiable. A lot of it is intuition and learning how to read between the lines and connect dots. So I knew that there had to be a cave that was part of this initiation ceremony, and sure enough, there is. And the god that is associated with this cave is the son of Hades, and the mother of this child is Persephone or Kori. This child is Plutos. Plutos, like I said, is the god of wealth, which you are more wealthy spiritually after going through this experience. The son of the fortune goddess Tyche. Blah, 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 blah. At Eleusis, the Plutonian was the north entrance to the sacred district. It was built by some great guy in the 6th century BC, rebuilt 2 centuries later when the Eleusinian mysteries were at the height of their influence. The cave was traditionally the site of the birth of the child Plutos. See? This is about Eubulus. Eubulus is the swineherd. He's actually seen as a major god because he was able to help lead Persephone back out of the underworld into the light again. Blah, blah, blah. Talking about the swineherd still. There we go. Ritual attendants called bailers then ascended into the pit and retrieved the decayed remains of the pigs, which were placed on altars, mixed with seeds, and then planted. Pits rich in organic matter at Eleusis have been taken as evidence that at the Themistophoria was held as well as other demes of Attica. Didn't catch what that last sentence meant. Iacchus is at the end of the ceremony they cry Iacchi, Iacchi, which they have kind of like an amen at the end of the Eleusinian mysteries, and it's a praise to Bacchus or Dionysus. Blah blah blah. I'm talking about Iacchus still. This is the main temple complex of the main Eleusinian mysteries. So 9/23/2017, this is whenever the Aleutian Mysteries start. The whole Aleutian Mysteries ceremony lasts for about 33 days. 33 is a very important number, as you all know. 9/23/2017. What was that day? That was the day that fulfilled a woman clothed with the sun, the moon will be at her feet, the Revelation 12 prophecy. That was the day that was fulfilled. And 33 days after the Aleutian Mystery, or 33 days after September 23rd, is August 21st, 2017, which is the day of the solar eclipse, whenever the sun is hidden in darkness and then the sun comes back out. And there is exactly 33 days between the eclipse and the Revelations 12 prophecy, which was fulfilled on September 23rd, the day that the Aleutian Mysteries begins. So I found that pretty interesting. I thought you guys would too. Exactly 33 days. So yeah, hopefully you guys gained some knowledge from this video, learned a little bit about agriculture and ancient civilizations, using mythology to help retain knowledge. Hopefully you learn that the serpent isn't all bad, that it can actually be used to spread the knowledge of agriculture. The same reason that Yahweh punished the humans in the Garden of Eden for us choosing fruit that didn't belong to us but belonged to nature, and taking that for ourselves and planting that for ourselves. The rise of agriculture was the fall of mankind from God. The serpent was a giver of wisdom. And at the end of the Aleutian Mysteries, in order for a woman to become a mestis, she would have to reach out on the high priestess's lap. The high priestess, representing Demeter herself, would have two serpents. And the woman would have to place her hands between the serpents without fear, allowing them to strike her if they so choose. But if she is close to Mother Nature, if she is close to the ground, then which animal is closer to the ground, the earth, than the serpent, who doesn't even have legs? He keeps his entire body against the soil. Snakes were often seen as good things to keep in your garden. They kept away pests. They would keep away rats that would eat your grain and get into your granary. And the food that you're saving for the wintertime could be completely consumed by these pests, which the serpent took care of. The serpent was our friend, and he didn't eat the grain. So we appreciated that. He told us which plants were best for production and allowed us to take our destiny into our own hands. So here you see Heracles, who is named after Hera, the queen of the gods, the wife of Zeus. Here's just some more information about snakes, some of that information I told you about Kronos. And that is it. That is the end of the video. Hopefully you guys learned something from it. The Aleutian Mysteries are key to what we're going through currently. This 7-year period that we're in between 2017 and 2024, we are in the middle of the tribulation period. It is going to get worse. Last year I made a video saying how much worse 2021 would get. I said there would be new variants, and they would have concentration camps where they brought people who were close contacts, or people who they thought might test positive for COVID, or just people who they didn't like. And sure enough, they're already doing this in Australia. Look into it. They're already doing this in Australia. So I've been right, and I'm telling you now, Australia is a beta test. It's going to get much worse before it gets any better. Gas prices are going to get higher. Food prices are going to get higher. inflation is going to run wild as the markets begin to crash. So enjoy the tribulation. I'll keep checking in with y'all. Bye.